Quora Questions. What happened when you said no when an officer asked to search your car? Daniel Wallander says, I was stopped on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota a number of years ago on a state highway for speeding. The officer asked me where I was going and where I came from. I told him I'm from my home in New Mexico and I was going to North Dakota to see some relatives. He took my ID and papers to his car and came back with a citation filled out except for the checkbox that made a warning, a violation, and asked if he could search my motorcycle. I took that as he would give me a warning if I allowed the search and I would get a citation if I said no. I said, I will not give you my permission for a search. He looks shocked and asked me why not. I asked if he was looking for drugs and he replied yes. I said that I didn't have any drugs and that the search was a waste of his time and mine, that it would be dark in a few hours and I wanted to ride as much in the daylight as possible. May I go now? He gave me the ticket and told me to slow down, which I did until I passed the leaving the Rosebud Reservation sign. Anthony Chin says, my friend was driving on a snowy evening. The streets we were on were brightly lit, so he had forgotten to turn on his headlights. Halfway to my house, we get pulled over. It starts off as a typical traffic stop, but then they decide they want to screw with us, and who else knows? His partner comes around to the side of my car and asks, who are you? I ask, how's that relevant? Who is in a passenger seat for a traffic stop? This sets them off, and now both of us get a barrage of questions. I did eventually give them my ID in hopes they'd just let us go, but nope. He sees my hometown, we're still in college, so my ID address is where I grew up, and wants to know, what part of town do you live in? I'm incredulous. Then he asks if he can search the car. I said, I'm not the driver or owner. Why are you asking me? But then I turn to my friends and say, don't consent. Now they're furious. What are you hiding? You two look like you're into drugs. What's that on the floor? Is that a gat? I didn't even know that slang. I ask, a what? Officer says, gun. I look down between my feet. It's a steering wheel lock. I tell him, are you kidding? That's a steering wheel lock. After 45 minutes, my friend gets tickets for his headlights, his tint, and 6 other made-up things. Our friend decides to take a court date, and we both show up ready to file a complaint against those guys. Judge informs us the tickets are being dismissed because those officers are no longer employed. Now, personally, I'm not necessarily against denying an officer the right to search or anything else. I think that's up to you in determining the actual circumstance and whether or not you should abide by what they ask you to do. However, one thing I do know is if you get a ticket, especially if it's for something that's ridiculous, show up in court. I've heard that half the time the cops don't show up anyway and the judge will dismiss the case. And typically if they do show up, it's because you really made them angry that they took time out of their day to show up to the courthouse. In this case, at least in the second example, those officers were so awful that they probably got fired long before they even had a chance to show up to court. Just imagine you're sitting at home, you go to your mailbox and you pull out that nice state envelope, you open it up and boom, $3,000 of fines. You could have shown up to court, but you just had to consent to get fined anyway. Oh, and on top of that, you probably got your license revoked. Follow me for more Quora Questions.